me Dr. Madhu Godkirekar. He is a very senior forensic expert. He's also doing great service as the in charge of the morgue and hospice during COVID times. He plays many roles, and of course, he's very involved in causes that are close to the doctors and the medical fraternity. Dr. Madhu, there was a very interesting and a very significant story that Herald kind of highlighted this morning in the morning's papers. And essentially, the story talks about how nurses are being ostracized by the community, in the sense that these nurses, as COVID warriors, have been doing excellent work, tirelessly looking after COVID patients. But what has come to light now is that apparently certain sections of the society are a little wary of inviting nurses and their families for social functions. And one of your senior nurses, the casualty in charge of the South Goa District Hospital, apparently revealed in a very hurtful manner a text that was received essentially by a retired teacher, stating that one shouldn't invite people like these to social functions because they work in COVID hospitals. Interestingly and significantly, there's been a huge reaction to this, and people are not taking it lying down. And the nurses community the association is filing a police complaint against the retired teacher. Now, have you come across these kind of incidences in the last 2 years during COVID times, and what is the way forward?
Hi, Sujay. Thanks for you and Herald and media for taking these social issues. That is not, in fact, we have completed 1 year with almost new friends, so-called as COVID. This is the time last year, we somewhere on 25th of the June, we had a first death. And that time onwards, I seen how people keeping away from the person who is COVID positive, and the discriminating our people working in the COVID initially was that much, because people used to stay for 3 months together at the COVID isolations and so on. But once home isolation started and government stopped the special accommodation facilities for the COVID warrior, so people started going. Even within the families, people used to get scared, but that is no more nowadays. But people have reservations, people have fear. Interestingly, the people who are stay away from us, that is help us, indirectly help us, because that's like many of us who were with the first, right from the first waves with the patients. We have touch wood that we have not become positive till now. Maybe this is the one of the reason people stayed away from us. It is not that we are.
That's right. No, doctor, but don't you understand? Don't you admit or agree that doctors themselves have been making huge sacrifices? They've been staying away from families. Many doctors and nurses have been staying separately from their families for months, going back once in 2 months just for a fresh change of clothes and coming back immediately. So at this point in time, thankfully, we have overcome the second wave. We don't know what's going to come in the future. But the point here is that when these kind of messages go back and forth, at the end of the day, what is the reason for it? Is it due to lack of communication or lack of education? Because people know that if a nurse is indeed affected, she would be the first person to see that she stays away. The very fact that she's open to meeting people in society is a certification that she's completely safe and she's willing to go out. So in the sense that when a nurse is saying that, look, I will come to a particular function, it should be taken for granted that that nurse is absolutely confident of being in that situation. Because at the end of the day, she herself has this fear of getting affected, and she needs to go back to her own patients again.
Exactly. If you remember, I fully agree with you. If you remember when
have we failed as a Doctor, one second, forgive me. I said, have we failed as a society to inculcate basic information to our people, even educated people, that at the end of the day, precaution is fine, but ostracization and humiliating somebody is not fine? Have we failed to communicate this?
I fully agree with you. If you remember, initially first, remember that reception, Dr. Edwin Gomes in his colony, when he finished 3 months stay in the ESI and then he went back. way entire colony gave the welcome. But that
Yes.
few welcomes become symbolic. But later on, such incidents do take place, and unfortunately, people believe in not required informations. Those like WhatsApp's messages, this videos, and all those. But when really it comes to my contributions to system, people backed away. As you rightly says, when such people come in, our warriors go in the social functions, actually we should be first to welcome them, appreciate them. If you have time, have a word of praise over there, rather than saying that don't call them. Keep this safe distance for everyone. I can say this: we are known devils rather than this. So
Doctor, one last question. Sorry to again cut you short. Time is the issue. Now the nurses have obviously gotten very upset and have actually filed an FIR against the sender of that offensive text, a retired teacher. But is that the way forward? I mean, will FIRs, solve the issue?
no, legally you can't do much about it. At the most, he will be called, then NC will be registered. But okay, from their sides, they are sending a deterrent words. But that is not the way that all will. Why I took up the issue in my social media is that educating. Yeah, it is. Let's acknowledge that it's happening. My
Right.
whole idea to put her problem in social media on my account was to let's admit that the things are going to happen, and
Right.
let's take this as a educating incidents or
Yes, yes,
opportunity.
Doctor. I think we'll leave it at that. I think that's very important. At the end of the day, this is not to send anybody to to prison or book cases. But I think the nurses filed that FIR just to send a strong message that we are hurt and we do not wish to take this lying down, and tell the society, as it were, to treat the COVID warriors and not as ostracized criminals. We'll
Thank
end
you,
with
Sujit.
that. We'll
Thank
end
you.
with that. Thank you very much, Tutur, and for taking up this cause as well. And all the best to you.